Are you ready?
Calm. I'm ready.
Oh, hold on. There you go. That's probably synced.
Fantastic. Hey, hello.
Hello. Welcome back to the Long Walk podcast. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has actually. Bad. That's bad. That's bad.
I mean, whatever.
We need to bring it back. Anyway, we're here. We're here now. Live in the present.
Yeah.
As Pascal said.
Probably did. I have no idea.
Anyway, so today's topic we're going to be covering social media.
Whoa or boo, depending
Boo,
on.
yeah. Boo. So social media and our current stance on it, to put it bluntly, is social media bad.
Yeah.
Like,
social
we're not-
media bad.
We
Yeah.
don't, we're not beating around the bush. So if that's all you wanted to hear, leave now. But if you want to hear some really in-depth analysis about social media, then stick around.
Well, why is it bad? That's what I'm.
Oh yeah, you see, you wouldn't get that. We're
Yeah.
gonna
I
make
mean, maybe it's not bad for you. Maybe it's only for us. But like, yeah, we're not about it.
But yeah, we're not about it now.
I think. Well, I think social media is a bit of a broad term because with Snapchat, I really enjoy using because I think I can organize things through it.
Yeah,
Other things like Instagram, not so much. We'll get to that.
absolutely. But yeah, while we're talking about it, go follow us on Instagram. Anyway, no, okay, we're gonna impartial here.
Yeah.
We're gonna say if you wanna,
Yeah.
waste your life and be on
That's a good
Instagram,
claim.
then follow us, and sure, fine.
I mean, we probably won't post on it.
probably won't post it, but
It's there.
we did have an Instagram, as our long-term viewers will know.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
episodes. We've always plugged the Instagram, so
Yeah.
now we'll keep plugging it, even if we're not doing anything on. Just to
Boost our numbers.
just to like patronize you. Really.
Oh Jesus! What kind of podcast is this
Oh my
now?
god.
It's
Okay, right, you know what?
humiliation.
Okay, we're gonna move past this. So
All
we're
right.
gonna start off by covering
Mm.
sort of our personal experiences with social media. So Dan, talk to
Yeah.
me about from the word go. What was social media to you like 10 years ago,
Okay.
5 years ago, that kind of thing?
All right. Well, 10 years ago, what was I? 9. So now you know my age. I wasn't even on social media. So I don't think it was a thing then, was it? Was Facebook around in 2009? Probably. It
Actually,
would have been
it
around.
was. I
Yeah,
think
but
it
not
was.
not on the scale.
It was like 2000, because YouTube popped up like 2006, 2007.
Yeah, Facebook must have been about.
Facebook was probably about then, just before the 2010s.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh no, definitely before 2010. Yeah, I'd say like 2008,
yeah.
2009.
I'd love to have seen like the figures of how many users they were gaining around then.
Oh yeah, fantastic. No,
Anyway.
yes.
Anyway, when I first got like my first social media account, I think like a lot of people our age was Facebook. I was like 13, of course, as you should be.
Good boy.
Got it on my 13th, but I probably did get it on my birthday. I wouldn't be surprised. And I loved it. Facebook started off great, like because the friends you had on there, they would greet you onto the platform, like, "Oh, hello." They write on your wall and be like, "Oi, Danny boy." That's what I got. Don't call me that anymore. Got that quite a few times on my wall. "Oh, welcome to Facebook," from friends I knew in real life. You're like, "Oh, wow, this is sick." Anyways, I loved Facebook for the longest time, and then Instagram rolled about, and that was fun. But already you see that it's becoming less and less about the people, and more about what the people are doing. And around that time, I probably got Snapchat as well, which I still use a lot. WhatsApp probably came around then. But I think for me, WhatsApp and Snapchat are more like messengers. And to me, that's a bit different to like the kind of social media, which I find has a negative impact on us as people, mentally, all that kind of thing. Anyway, my experience with it after like Instagram in the years was that more and more people suddenly, cared. Like beforehand, it was like, like fun, posting like funny statuses on Facebook, for example, or like sharing like a goal on, like in football. Yeah, that's soccer for you, all our American listeners. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty positive experience until like maybe a year and 2 years ago, and then suddenly everyone's got 6 smartphones. And I think it's with the advent of the smartphone that it became like an actual issue.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you have all of these things in your pocket, like in your hand, and you can check it instantly. I don't know if you've like ever checked your screen time on your iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you can check your screen time, and you can also check how many times you pick up your phone. I think you have to have iOS 12 or higher. So if you have like an iPhone 4, I'm sorry.
We're all sorry for you.
But you can see how many times you picked it up, and I realized that even last year when I thought I was pretty decent with screens, I thought I was controlled, I had something like 6 hours screen time and like in the hundreds in the pickups. So I was like, okay, cool, this is clearly killing my productivity. And like as soon as like those kind of things like started coming around, I realized, holy shit, I'm not very. If I put my phone away, I would have had 6 hours. I could have done 6 hours worth of work. And imagine how much further along you'd be if you did 6 hours worth of work every single day.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. I realized I was probably wasting like 24 to 30 hours a week of my life on literally nothing, because social media has not developed into like a community based platform where you can organize things and then organize things to then meet people in the real world.
Yeah.
It's more become, oh cool, I'll talk to you on this as a substitute for talking to you on in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that's my experiences. It started well, and then it kind of just fell off.
Yeah, I guess it's like
you kind of wake up like that and you're like, oh shit, hang on, I'm just a slave to the system. Like I think this is a podcast that we listened to. It was like, you're actually the product.
Yeah.
You're not using a product, you are the product, and you get sold to advertising agencies essentially by these companies. But anyway, we'll get to that in a later episode later on. Bill, what's your experience?
I mean, definitely just a comment. I think it like as the sort of rise of like the infrastructure sort of became available, stuff started happening more so with advertisers and things. They saw there's like massive untapped market, and they just ran in, and like that's what's kind of changed. But I mean, my experience with it's mainly been so like before when I was like 12, like I was sort of thinking about Facebook and it felt, to be honest at the time, like this token of adulthood, because it was like, okay, we deem you mature enough to have
use this,
use that, and so you thought, oh wow, okay, you started feeling a bit more accepted, a bit more integrated actually into society. That's how I viewed it. Facebook was the big thing. Snapchat and Instagram, if they were even around, had not taken off in 2013 properly anyway, or like 2012, that kind of thing. They weren't.
Oh, Instagram, didn't it get bought by Facebook at one point?
It did. I think it was like 2015 or something.
It started taking off, and they were like, let's buy it. Let's buy that. Not more.
Definitely. Just to get your foot in the door, like with the social media stuff, because Facebook sort of becomes like different markets.
Yeah.
But so like Facebook was the big thing, and then as you said, like literally, I had like some friends from my class just being like, "Oh my god, Bill, you've got Facebook," like.
That's a positive. Oh my god, by the way.
Yeah. They were like, fuck, gotta get off this shit he's on. But it was kind of it felt like a little bit of like an exclusive club. Like you were kind of you were part of something that was sort of a bit different to what you've been used to. And as Dan eloquently put, that it was just another dimension to your social life, as opposed to it being all about it. Like I couldn't dream nowadays, to be honest, of like if someone joined Facebook, I would not write on their wall, oh my god, welcome. You joined Facebook, or like Instagram and that, like oh my god, you got Instagram. It's kind of like, oh okay, they're there now. You know what I mean? It's lost that. I don't know if that's just us getting older, but it's kind of lost that sort of shine that it once had.
Maybe it's just because I was used to Facebook now.
Yeah. So then sort of like grew up with that, and then as they came along and became more popular, I think I was a bit of a low taker on Snapchat, because Snapchat was. It was only until like everybody was using it really that I kind of was like, okay, might as well.
I think I was one of the later ones.
I was
that late, but
I didn't, because it was something I think for me was just sort of like, I was like, well, I've got text and stuff, like I didn't really need to speak to my friends on it, but I just thought, you know what, it's good. And now I'd call Snapchat like one of the more favourable ones, because I'd put Facebook and Instagram and all the other ones maybe akin to it. I put those in like one box, and I put Snapchat in another box. Now Snapchat's like there was like a Venn diagram, and you had like Facebook Messenger in one, and then you had Facebook itself and Instagram in another. Like Snapchat's in the middle, because
I think so. Yeah, that's fair.
Snapchat, what it does, because like that, I use Snapchat. Snapchat's a really effective tool. I think it's really fantastic, and what this does help with is it does help with like communication. I think we are talking about the downsides of social media a lot, but I think recognize the upsides. It makes it so much easier to communicate with people overseas, communicate with your family, and communicating with your friends is a lot easier. I think it's just the line for what's like been acceptable has just been completely blurred, because now it's like they're just trying to push content down our throats. The Snapchat Discover feed is just like complete
the Discover feed I don't like.
And I don't even like literally. I was trying to see if I could disable stories and stuff because I didn't really care that much about what people who were kind of half my friends, were doing. And it's that quality time that we're compromising when we're just talking to people who, or like just sort of seeking after people that just don't really care about us. They don't. You don't even see them in real life sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people on Snapchat who I've spoken to maybe once. People I've not even spoken to. I just have seen at school.
Yeah,
or when we were at school.
And so it's kind of like expected of you almost.
Yeah,
to just be
exactly. It's not like, it's almost like you if you add them or they add you and they don't add you back, you don't add them back. That's only gonna have beef.
Yeah,
like this person who you don't have anything to do with anyway. It's like.
And you just get pissed off. It's like, well, what have I done, like kind of thing. Like, that's literally what it comes. And I think it's just all like an intrinsic like social acceptance thing. Everyone's like grooming each other and trying to be nice to each other, and it's such a waste of time. And that's the big kicker, because when you get, I guess probably it's just because of the fact that I've been 18, I've literally just been able to like look around and smell the roses a little bit. That I've clocked onto how how much how much time that you've got and like how precious it is. Like was it Max Joseph's, like that guy Casey Neistat's mate did like a big like 40-minute thing on bookstores.
Oh, that was really good. I loved that video.
It was a fantastic video.
I probably should have showed you that. I mean, like you showed me, I was like, I've already seen it.
I've already seen it, man. But that, like, I clocked that on my feed. I've subscribed to him now because I do I like his stuff. Because I did see one of his other stuff that was like for a film festival or something, but that was really good, and that talked about the fact that just reading for half an hour a day, you're going to get through so much more books. Pointing to a shelf, he was 55, was he? He wouldn't, pointing to two shelves and just saying, on that shelf is every book you're ever going to read. Yeah. And you're just going to go, shit.
That's nothing. That's like nothing.
That's nothing. And and I guess we've got this intrinsic like fear of missing out, FOMO, that kind of thing. We're about social media. You've got to be on it to be clued in. But actually, you're gonna miss out on more than that if you are.
Use it. Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. I think let's talk about that. I think being on social media, you're like, okay, cool, I know everything what's going on. Yeah. Like as soon as you come off it, like the first day or two, you're like, oh, maybe I should, just log on quick. Let's see what's going on. Maybe I'll miss something. Maybe someone sent me a meme on Instagram or something, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I don't miss Instagram at all.
No.
Like I already know what people are posting. It might be a holiday pic, a pic of they were out the other night and got really drunk. I mean, fair enough if you like getting drunk. So that's on there. Someone's posted a picture of them and their dog. I'm sure that you also find, maybe you'll find an appeal for like a climate change thing, which I applaud. I like the fact that people are also using social media to spread awareness about this. But I feel like if you got off social media or maybe applied yourself to actually solving the problem, we'd be further along than we would be if we just pointed fingers and look at that problem over there and then went back to texting. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, it's you're not missing out on anything if you come off like Instagram, whatever. That's my experience so far. Yeah. What you are missing out on by being on it is time.
Yeah.
So much time where you could be doing actual productive things.
Yeah.
Be that like people say reading isn't productive. I disagree. Reading is very productive in my opinion. No matter if it's fiction or non-fiction or whatever. I think broadening your imagination anyway, opening your mind to new ideas is always productive, because that might be like, the last thing you need to read before you're like, oh shit, I know what I want to do now. Like even I think about a bit of an anecdote. Obviously, I almost finished The Fellowship of the Ring, but at the very start, or very close to the beginning of this book, they go through a forest. Can't remember what the forest is called, and they meet a guy called Tom Bombadil, who is not in the films. Anyway, this forest is like it's like magic or enchanted or something in a way that it like seems to change, and you can never quite get out of it. And I realised that's a perfect kind of metaphor for Instagram in that. It always seems to change, even though nothing's really changing. You can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And it's distracting you from reaching your goal or whatever you might. Right.
Yeah.
Even you might even have a goal yet because you're stuck in this fucking forest that is Instagram.
Honestly, yeah, I think you took the good word that I think when you say productivity, I do think some people will like switch their minds off and be like, oh, but social media is not about that. It's not about being productive. It's about sort of maybe attachments with friends, or it's maybe. It's maybe about switching off. Maybe it's about some of your leisure time, not working. However, like my rebuttal to that would be sort of like that it's not like productivity can encapsulate literally everything. Like you going out and having a football game that you enjoy going to, or a film that you enjoy going to see, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's all productive because you're all taking in different maybe aspects of art, or keeping yourself fit, or doing some good work and that kind of thing. But what it literally is like the antichrist of productivity is Instagram, because all you're doing is you're just not. It's like that's it. It's like you're not doing anything. That's all it is. You're scrolling through a bunch of pictures that other people have put there, and occasionally you'll do one when you want your ego grooming or massaging, that kind of thing.
I think all right, interesting. Sorry, I don't mean to. There's lots of people who like say, "Oh, I don't really care about likes," which is fair enough. But if you deny that you don't like the feeling of someone liking your picture, that's what's that called, like a social approval indicator or something like that. First of all, that's highly unlikely that you're in this zen state of like superiority, to where a like is just a like.
Don't need
it's just
likes,
a word.
don't need
it's
likes.
not like
maybe
they might not need it, but they still get that bit of positive feedback, which keeps you there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
but it's fine. It's a great point. It's like the part of that Max Joseph's video. There was a bit where the lady who'd been reading all her life, she said it's really good bit of self-meditation, and I would so totally agree with that. You feel actually, because what meditation is trying to do is it's trying to genuinely free up your mind a little bit, because there's so much shit going on and so many distractions. To maybe getting to like the distractions that you should really care about. Like I have been reading like literally a bit of Blaise Pascal and like talking about human happiness and sort of his like when we're, because we kind of sort of seem to strive towards this like period of rest, we have leisure time kind of thing, where you don't have to do anything. But actually, humans' natural state is, if left alone, is to be unhappy, because you don't have anything, you don't have anything going on around you, you don't have anything to stimulate you. All you're doing is you're left contemplating how alone and depressed you are, and that you're gonna die, and you're just you're not gonna be here anymore, and so your thoughts quickly turn to that. And so I guess you do want the distractions, you do want the happy distractions, the distractions that will make you happy, and you're not getting that through social media. What you're doing is you're literally just filling empty time.
It's like I don't know if I read this or heard this, but it's like social media is to real social interaction what this is a bit lewd. What porn and masturbation is to actual sex. Like, they aren't the same. You can't exchange one with the other. They're not compatible. They're not like, oh, I've done this, so therefore I have experienced the same thing as this person. It's not the same. It's like you'll be left with it's ironically, by using social media, you are more susceptible to feelings of loneliness, depression, and anxiety.
Yeah.
Despite being quote unquote connected with more people. And I think that's something to be said, that a real conversation with someone face to face, where you can read social cues, you have so much more information from a face to face conversation than you do with a messaging conversation or a comment on your Instagram post or someone else's, a like on something, that your brain is left wanting more. And that kind of feeds into what you were saying, is if your brain isn't stimulated, it's once more, suddenly you kind of start contemplating this loneliness, this what is life. And
again, it's completely all down, as you said, completely down to the quality of what you get. You're not getting quality, by looking at, you think of it like a picture of, you see a picture of a beach, you're not feeling, the sun, warm through, you're not feeling, the sand beneath your feet, you're not feeling the coldness of the waves. There was a great quote from Good Will Hunting. You've seen it?
Yeah, of course. It's one of my favourite films.
Fantastic film. But one of the best scenes when they're sat on a park bench and Robin Williams sort of says, I bet you can tell me about all the Michelangelos of the world, and you can tell me about how the intricacies of his paint, how it all, move people, and, what it was about, that kind of thing, how long it took him to paint it. But then he goes, but I bet you can't tell me what the Sistine Chapel smells like. Yeah. You can't, and that's it. You don't know.
Exactly.
Like, until you go out and get those experiences, you're just left with an abstraction of it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And for things like learning, it's fine for that, because what you're doing is, you're preparing, or like presumably you're preparing to be able to go into a field where you're going to have to exercise a bunch of your skills, like knowledge that you've gained. Even if it's just by a book that you've like learned it. The opposite of that is true with kind of, but you have to do that job at some point. You have to experience that at some point. If you're just looking at pictures and things, you're reading books. Although it's great self-meditation, it's great to sort of see how you are from the inside. It's not, it's not a substitute. It just isn't a substitute. It's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like at the moment, I've deleted my Instagram account.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I feel fine. I don't have any really urge to go back to it. There was one account that I actually kind of missed, which was it was just an account that was just like, it just posted like shitty like music memes. But
so an account on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, on Instagram, and it was sort of, but like each week, the only thing that was missing from them was each week they give me like 4 album recommendations, and I actually really liked their album recommendations, and I found some really good albums through it when I was on Instagram, and so I do have their page, which you can do actually. If there's an account on Instagram that you actually really love, and you're like, oh, I can't, that's one of the things holding you back maybe from quitting, not the social, not the interaction with your friends or anything. You can go onto Insta if they've got a public page open. Go onto Instagram, and just set a bookmark on their page so you have it in your browser.
Yeah, this is on your laptop or your computer.
So like once a week or once a day, if they post that frequently, like you can just have a quick look and just see what they've posted. Now, you don't get a feed that's just filled with like mindless stuff that you're not really interested in, which is, we were talking a little bit about sort of like YouTube videos like as well, because YouTube is a social media platform to some extent. Yeah. And it's better than like Snapchat and Facebook for the reasons that it provides you with, I guess, more I feel wholesome like content.
First of all, their algorithm I think is quite good, but also you're more in control of what you watch. You have to first of all you have to click on something to actually watch it. Yeah. There's another barrier between you and the content, which is that click. If things start, they already have the autoplay, which they added so that you stay on the website, obviously. So I'd just disable that as soon as you can. But if videos in your recommended just started playing and you couldn't turn it off, you'd be fucked. At the moment, they don't.
Everyone would go off it because of the fact that it's what I think it's also damages our patience as well. We tend to, what they've done now is they've reduced everything down to just a scroll. Everything's just a scroll and a tap to show you like it. Yeah. They've reduced it. Hats off to them. Hats off to them. They've played us. Congratulations, we've played ourselves. They have done their job. They have literally ran their course. Yeah. They have refined it down to the best thing they can possibly do. And maybe a UI switch up every couple of years to keep us on our toes, keep us looking at it differently. Instagram maybe get a new design overhaul in 2020 or 2021, and everyone's going, oh my god, I hate the new Instagram design overhaul.
Let me just use it even more.
But you just use it again. It doesn't nothing changes. Yeah. And people are going to have to wait until they actually switch up and understand it a bit. And sometimes that will never come for people because they'll be so absorbed by this world. And they'll find, I think, that they probably won't leave as fulfilling a life as they may have otherwise. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy on YouTube called Dave Lee. And he's sort of like a tech YouTuber,
Yeah, I know who you mean.
He made a video and he titled it something that kind of clickbaity, but actually it raised an interesting point that he didn't even really mention in the video, which was, smartphones run their course. It was something akin to that. And I actually quite enjoyed it. We have now got to the point where the market is so plateaued and it's actually going to start decreasing, probably, especially for certain manufacturers. So because everyone's got a smartphone, particularly Android. There's no reason for someone to buy the new Samsung if they've got a Huawei that works fantastically. Yeah. Huawei is the only one that's actually gaining in the market because they've still got that Chinese market that they still a bit untapped. Well, it's not untapped because loads of people have got it, but they are properly, they're trying to put a smartphone in the hand of all of those users. And what we're going to find is that maybe the Apple iPhone has greater longevity because it's got those kind of features. But honestly, I feel we're gonna have a kickback. I think we're gonna and we're going to end up actually
Yeah.
probably back closer to where we started, because I think people are going to start wanting, namely me actually, I'd quite like it if I could convert all of my friends, if I could give all of my friends like a brick phone, a standard brick phone, or like just, like a shitty phone that only had text on it, that kind of thing. If I could give one of those, then I would use that all day, and that would be my only thing that I use, and I'd keep everything else separate. So I'd have, like I could still have my laptop, I could still have my desktop computer, where I could like watch and like take in content. But honestly, I think the fact that it's there, it's right there,
in your pocket.
your phone is in your pocket, it makes it, there's no excuse for not looking at it almost.
Yeah.
And
It's very accessible.
It's too accessible for some things, and it's like when you're in, if you're using it for if you're using it for like social interaction, and you're using it to say to your friends, hey, we should go to a burger place, we should go to the cinema, we should go out and play some football, we should go to a museum, that kind of thing, see some art, live life a little bit. If you want to do that with your friends, then that's fantastic. However,
text, call, that's all you need.
But like people end up just talking to their friends on like FaceTime, and then they think that's
interesting. All right, I think
FaceTime
is actually quite good. I think that's. I don't.
They've got
I would
purpose.
be interested.
They've got purpose.
I would be interested in comparing, like, how engaged your brain is in a real face-to-face conversation, in a FaceTime conversation, and on just like a text, Facebook Messenger, whatever conversation.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really interesting, because I think like a real face-to-face interaction would be simulated much better by FaceTime, like very closely, than we might imagine.
Fair enough. I mean, honestly, I do, because I completely understand their point, and I understand social media. What it's done is it has overwhelmingly provided people who would otherwise have no means of communicating with one another that means. They have, I can now talk to somebody if I want to who lives in Japan. I could do that. I could go out and just do that instantly. I could go to a subreddit that maybe was Japanese themed, find a dude who said he was 32 from Japan, living in Kyoto, and I'd message him.
I'd love to go there someday.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, anyway.
But I'd love to go there as well. It's a fantastic place. I hear.
I mean, Steve Jobs went there. I'm going.
That's good logic as any. But yeah, like I could do that, and that's the power that now the internet and all these social networks have provided. Either if you do it through Reddit or something, if you do it, through Twitter, through email, just through mutual friends, that kind of stuff, and it's possible now, and that's a crazy and brilliant thing. It really is, because it means that people who otherwise would have no chance of meeting, who have the exact same interests, the same desires, and the same will to do it. Brockhampton, big band, one of my favourites. They met on a Kanye West forum. Literally, for Kanye West fans.
Isn't it?
They met, and then they would say, "Yeah, fuck it, let's go." But do you know? I really think that social media should be used, as a vehicle and not much else.
I feel like at the moment we're getting used by social media.
We're getting used by social media. We're the product now, because that's what advertisers fucking love it, because they're just like, it's literally because, like, although, like, we still think about it, like, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from, being able to talk to anyone that has, like, massive interest with us and in line with us and going into living with them, to just, not even caring about that anymore, because, you don't have that need. And that was it. Sort of people sort of saying that you've got that you've been satiated. You don't now need to go and go to after school club. You don't need to go to
Social
football.
clubs.
You don't have to do anything with your friends. You don't have to go to the cinema anymore. You can legally watch something online if you wanted to, or just Netflix or YouTube, that kind of stuff. People are now just like going, what's the point? Why do I have to go outside? If it satiates that part of your brain like too easily, then it just means you're deprived of that quality content. And yet a step above that is that creates mental health issues. And there was, in the podcast you were talking about with Dr. Hayes.
Dr. Heyman,
I can't remember.
Yeah.
He was, or the guy who was interviewing was referencing a study in that this woman was trying to figure out, was looking at like the statistics side by side, and she didn't want to just say smartphone. She didn't want to just say, okay, well, smartphones have become more prevalent, therefore people are going to hospital, because that doesn't sound very convincing. But she couldn't,
Oh, hello.
Technical issues.
As always. Just a second.
Thank you for holding. Yeah, so she was looking at it and she didn't want to just say smartphones because that would be too, people just blase that off.
People are like, oh yeah, whatever, smartphones.
She
are really
couldn't
cool.
find anything else that would correlate
there
the
was
same
no other
way.
thing, yeah.
And so, like,
I think a bit more context to that was that she was, I think, head of like sort of like the mental health sort of the help for people who were struggling with their mental health at a certain university for students, like, yeah. So and then like suddenly you'd have like the standard, I'm going to call it standard mental health issues. Some people have depression, a few people have anxiety, you get schizophrenia, you get homesickness.
That's just
That's things like that.
That's a side effect of like our society.
Normal things, when you're going away from home, these are things that you would experience. You're not in your nest, as it were.
Yeah, things that like this society kind of like just is typically or like previously throughout history has caused. There's always been people with
kind
schizophrenia.
of normal things. Yeah.
There's sometimes very little you can actually do to amend that. But yeah,
it's very normal. And then basically, something like I think like a switch had flipped or something. Suddenly, it was just depression and anxiety related disorders, and loads of them, so many more than before. And no matter what they tried to like identify as a cause, nothing seemed to line up apart from the advent of smartphones, which obviously had access to social media. And that was, I think, what she was getting at.
I mean, smartphones, because it's sort of like it's a bit far and away from what that originally was
the original keynote.
The original that was it. There was reference in the podcast.
Yeah,
Steve Jobs coming out and saying, it can play, your music, it can, access the internet, and it can do your phone calls, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Entertainment, internet, phone.
It was meant. The original smartphone was meant as an iPod, which can phone people on and look at like the most basic websites.
Yeah.
Look
where we are.
Yeah, look how far we've come, and how bad the impact is.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, we've made like significant technological advancements, like in the internet and what's possible through it, namely, social media, among other things.
That's 10 years ago.
10 years ago, crazy. Jesus, it's 10 years ago. But I don't think would Steve Jobs still have made the iPhone if he'd seen what it caused?
Well, I mean, but think about that. So what's 10 years in the future now? Because see the rise of like VR.
Yeah. Oh,
for example,
that's terrifying.
I don't know if that's going to take off explicitly, but because things like that are kind of like popping up, you don't know what the next big thing is. And although so that the thing about Dave Lee was sort of talking, there has to be some new innovation in a smartphone, and if that is literally getting rid of the smartphone, that could very well be the next big thing, because then they can tout all of these things and they can do it profitably.
Yeah.
They can say, "Look at us, we're not forcing you to, with your life. Look at us, we're happy, we're good people. You're not focusing on your stuff, and we have this new technology which can, transport you from home instantly to school. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it'll be, but it won't be. Like, I feel like something we can like maybe laugh at like the notion of time travel and everything. But honestly, like, you don't even know at this point. You don't even know how close we're going to come and how much it's going to change and shift. So honestly, and like with the rise of like VR and things, I was trying to say is like that. Okay, so imagine that the damage that just looking at a phone, looking at a screen, a two-dimensional screen has done. Look at the damage that is done. Now think about it, where your entire world is just, or the entire world is literally in front of your face, like, and in your living room, like honest to goodness, that from like two-dimensional screen to that, like the possibilities that are going to come from that is relentless, and the damage it can cause subsequently is also kind of relentless. And people, and there's going to be, and that's one of the problems with this fantastic innovation. The same way that like the Industrial Revolution, was necessary to get to this point. However, like the damage that has caused, like the environment, we didn't know it was happening at the time, but now we do, and we're like, oh shit, let's backtrack. Yeah. Same thing. It's the same innovation.
I think we're on the cusp of realizing how dangerous your electronic devices are.
Yeah.
Like for your mental health, for I think physical health as well. There's definitely a point to be made that the screens are really shit for our eyes.
Yeah.
And are damaging us.
I've got contacts.
Yeah, I like the screen and the light you get from it is affecting our, as it called, circadian, the sleep cycle is affecting that. And I made experience yesterday once again of how vital a good sleep is.
7 to 8 hours, man, minimum.
Minimum. I mean, I probably got I got 5, which for some people like a good night's sleep, which is shocking, first of all. But I realised I could barely function.
Yeah.
Like, even the most menial tasks, I was just like, I was emptying the dishwasher and like opening the wrong drawers completely to put like ladles and things away.
Yeah.
Like, I opened the towel drawer.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, nobody knows really why we need sleep, but we do know like what happens when we don't have it. That's what we have. We have the, it's like, it's kind of like, it's like, you've been feeding this, this monster or whatever in a cave. You're like, you're feeding it sleep, and you're like, well, that's hours from my day. I'm not going to feed it. And then the monster comes out and like takes your arm. So that's for doing that. Come on, you bring it back, and it's that kind of. I guess it's that kind of thing. What you want to do. We recognize now like what happens without it, and we now recognize what can happen with smartphones.
Okay.
And I think it's the product of any innovation is that there are things that can detriment the wider world.
Detrimental effects, yeah, definitely.
I mean, think about it. Like, I mean, it's far and away maybe, but guns and things, the innovations with guns, literally just ways in which we can kill each other faster.
Love it. Great.
Did the person who invented a gun? Did the person invent the gun really think, or the handgun or something like that, the Uzi? Did they think that there was going to be, a Columbine shooting? Where children would go against other children.
Yeah.
Perhaps not. Perhaps they didn't think about that at the time because they thought, access is going to be restricted, that kind of thing. But nevertheless, with that, and that's a dangerous example. That's like, a dangerous example of innovation in that field, which can then, widespread, then can, have these awful knock-on effects. And so, yes, while advertisers may be happy and businesses may be happy with the whole social media thing, it's going to start turning into a world where we're not.
Yeah.
And then what? Because, that, I think, human happiness is a big touchy issue. Because what you want to, you don't want to be sad.
Here's a question. After you got off Instagram, after you like stopped spending as much time on social media, would you say you felt, obviously you say that you didn't feel like you missed anything, but did you feel a positive impact?
Yes.
And
there's more time to do other stuff. Plain and simple. We're just referencing it because these people have made some fantastic content. You should go see it. But that Max Joseph's bookstore video, literally in it, he's talking. You put on a board the hours in a day. You put on a board the hours in a week. You put on a board the weeks in a year. You put on the board weeks in your life. And you suddenly start to look at it and go, oh shit.
I only have this many half hours.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, that can wait till next week, or, this week's a write-off, I'll just, need to... Every moment, and obviously... Because one of the arguments, I think, that Pascal was making was the fact that we never really ever live in the present. We never do. We're only ever thinking about the future and trying to make a better future for ourselves. Or we're like lamenting about the past, or like acting on past decisions, or acting on decisions for our future. We're never really actually taking it all in the present moment. And but the present is all we've got. We don't have the future or the past. That never really comes, technically.
Yeah.
Like, the past is always behind us and the future is always in front of us. We never reach them, like why here, why now? What you want to be doing is you want to be taking in all of this stuff and finding that happiness for you. And the happiness just isn't born of. It just isn't born of scrolling through social media. And I guess that's kind of like a life philosophy which you can take over, as you can think, okay, how do I enjoy this moment? And it's not about, holding your phone up at a concert and like trying to take pictures, or like trying to take video, particularly videos, because that's just stupid. Especially televised events as well, just like the stupidity of it. But like, holding your phone up just to look at later. You're preparing what you're doing in there is holding your phone up giving you the best experience you can have then and there. No, because you're focusing on that. You're not
making
focusing
sure you don't drop your phone.
You make sure you don't drop your phone. Make sure someone doesn't nick it. Make sure you get the artist in your shot. You're thinking about a lot of different things. You're not thinking about the way the music's affecting you,
how everyone else around you is acting, the energy in the room,
happiness.
or the energy in the stadium, wherever you are.
So that's just an example of it. And it's the way which we're so hell bent on like documenting everything. We just have to have all of these things, intrinsic. Take pictures, upload pictures, make people think that we're really happy. Obviously, no one's ever uploading stuff that's bad. That kind of thing.
Occasionally you might get like a rest in peace grandpa or something.
Yeah, and you might get it's Women's National Health Awareness Week.
You get positive posts.
It's fine. That's good.
You get good posts, I want to say good. You get more. You get posts which are more representative of what's going on.
But why are you posting that? Are you because another one of the examples was the fact that are you traversing the 7 seas? Are you going up to those mountains and looking at those pictures? Are you doing that just to tell the next man about what you've done, or are you doing that for yourself? And that comes down to the philosophy of it. Why are you on social media? I think just ask yourself why you're on it. Because I think Snapchat, I can find a justification for Snapchat because all my friends are on it, and that's a way to organise stuff and to see people and to talk to people and make people know who are living far away that I still care or that I still want to be a part of their lives.
I think right. 2 things. First of all, talk about Snapchat. The Snapchat has stories, and you said you're not that big a fan. What I do like about stories is that there's no like button.
Yeah.
So you find that people post things on there which you would never see on a curated feed. You will find people being goofy, people doing the most random things, just driving somewhere, whatever. You wouldn't see someone post on their Instagram how they had an absolute tragic one at the fucking club yesterday or something. Like you would never see that.
Occasionally you might.
But
they might be a bit self-deprecating people anyway.
Like the stories themselves tend to be a bit closer to real life than something else because there's no like the social approval indicator. Back to the like button, which is literally there's no point to a like button other than to give you a hit of dopamine and to keep you on that platform. The stories don't have that, which I think makes them more real. That's the first thing.
Which I like about,
that's what I like about that's what I like about Snapchat stories. The rest of the Discover feed, horrendous, awful. Barstool Sports, I don't care. I don't care. Also, I don't like their presenting style, but that's just me. Anyway, then the second thing. So getting back to the quitting social media or quitting Instagram in particular. We really don't like Instagram.
Fuck Instagram. Out war.
So to like bring how you felt into one, would you say you felt a lot happier after having left Instagram? Down to how productive you were, or just that you weren't being bombarded by people who were, on these mad holidays or doing this, that and the other whilst you're working or sat at home listening to music, which you enjoy doing usually, but when you suddenly see someone else doing something quote unquote cooler, you're like, oh, maybe I'm not, So you felt happier? Or I
felt happier. I think there's so much baggage that comes with Instagram. So I'm like, it's a relief to kind of like get it out your headspace because maybe you're thinking about, what other people are thinking of you or, what you're thinking of them, whether or not you like it. There's lots of politics that come with it. And also, I will just say, I think all social media, but I think any social interaction can breed drama. I think that's never going to go away. But I'd say it becomes a lot more fanatical when you throw in so many social elements. So you have the actual act of meeting up with people at school or whatever, or at work, and then you have the social media element where so-and-so may not unfollow or block someone, that kind of thing. Or then you have like the story element where, although they're good, and actually I do really like the interpretation that you gave, I think that's fantastic. However, the story element where, you could get back at someone by posting something really, a nude photo, that kind of thing that's actually against the law now, or like, doing something, or like exposing like a secret, that kind of thing, putting it on their stories so all their followers can see. Those are all like, I guess it's sort of exceptional cases where like you just see the detriment, but those would happen in real life anyway.
I was about to say, I understand that you don't like that as a bad thing, but those are all things which could happen in real life as well.
That's something you got.
It's not something which is enabled by Snapchat.
That's something that in today's day and age is unavoidable. Like just for the fact that we live in this society, we live in a society, but we live in this society where those are the things that go on. But like just adding those elements, can sort of add fuel to the fire. However, I think as a blanket thing, and I appreciate, and I think maybe you should bring it up a bit, that the age for social media should go up a bit. I like for something. Firstly, I'm against the UK porn ban that got put in place, but I am for actually age restricting stuff like social media. I think that's a much better step in the right direction, is to age restrict stuff on social media, maybe move it to 15, 16, that kind of thing, from 13, because I think then you're still it's easily manipulated. Even 16 might be a bit too young. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
I think those kind of ages,
text.
even now, I think we're pretty impressionable.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean, like, honestly, I'm astounded at the amount of I can mature in, like a year or a few months. The amount that you can mature, or the way, like, when you're young, and honestly, the way it goes about and the way you sort of walk about is you know everything that you're pretty much going to need to know at that stage, and you're just dossing about that kind of thing, and you're doing what you're doing. But like then cut to 5 years later, and you're just like, fucking 15-year-old me, 14-year-old me didn't know shit.
But at the time, you're like, I know everything.
Yeah, at the time you're just like, I know how the world works. Yeah, but as I said, you don't know what the Sistine Chapel smells like. You don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't experienced these things, and you don't and you haven't yet rounded out your life's outlook, and you shouldn't have. It's not your job to have everything figured out at 15.
Yeah.
But honestly, you got to help yourself, and we can speak from experience that of our interactions with like social media, I'd say probably at the moment, exception goes to Snapchat, I'd probably say, because that's actually and like Facebook Messenger, because those are like on the borderline. They're kind of like I'd say there's a purpose for Facebook sometimes, because you can put yourself on the free guest list for like a night out or something.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, Facebook is one of the accounts I still have, and will check on my computer. For messages only. I don't give a shit about the feed anymore. It's the messages. It's the social aspect. It's something that enhances the social interaction, and it shouldn't replace. And that's, I think, one of the take-home messages, is that, like, although it may satiate our desire a bit, you think, okay, well, I talked to my friends for an hour on like a Snapchat group call. It's like, that's not the same as talking to your friends for an hour in real life.
It's not the same as talking to your friends for 10
the
minutes
person.
in real life.
It's not like. I think
that's why it should be. I think if you have the outlook as viewing social media as sort of like a supplementary thing to your social life, I think it can work fantastically. Yeah, I'm sure. I think that's the ideal way it should work, and not the way it is now. And honestly, I think it has to be like a personal compass change, because at the moment there's no restrictions on it.
No,
it's fucked, and I don't know if it. In 20 years, I don't know if anything will actually change in that regard, because obviously technology will move forward. I don't know if it will have, because everything's changing so fast. So it's hard for like legislation and people to actually kind of catch up and smell what's going on and be like, okay, I think that we've reached this stage from maybe just experience and maybe just actually, because we're both on a gap year at the moment, and it sounds pretentious, and not everyone's able to take one, so it's not an argument really that we want to profess about, but we have had time. I've been in work for like 9 months, that kind of thing. You have time to think about your stance and to think about the way you're acting.
You have a bit of time to kind of figure yourself out.
You clue up. It's just a sausage factory, like the whole like chilling you through university and shit. You end up less mature. You end up less mature because you don't understand any life lessons. You don't do it. Honestly, I think having like bringing back some like national service, that kind of thing, not for just the military element, but for like just the
volunteering,
the physical element, that kind of thing. I think that would be honestly very beneficial to a lot of people out there today, because people just.
I found that.
I personally, I couldn't control.
I mean, I volunteer, and I found that it's actually obviously don't get paid, but it's still quite gratifying.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's definitely something you should do.
Life-shaping experience.
Yeah, because you meet people.
Exactly.
And again, you have that interaction with strangers. Imagine having an interaction with a stranger online. It's not. You don't have that. There's less of that anxiety of what is this person like? Do I know? Like, are they going to like me? Are they weird? Are they going to stab me? You don't have that on social media because you're not face to face with them. If you're talking to a stranger in a shop, there's a certain element, and it feels so much better to talk to that in that kind of like afterwards. You're like, oh wow, I just talked to a stranger. And for someone who's like not the most forward person ever, that is quite fun. That's quite cool.
Yeah, I think it is breeding probably a generation of introverts. Honestly.
Yeah, I think for a generation which was brought up on social media, we're
Very,
surprisingly antisocial.
Well, hey, that's your soundbite. That's the bang.
Yeah,
Big point. That's good. And that, to be honest, I mean, I'm running on 50 minutes.
that's cool. I mean, there's still some points to be made about productivity. So we'll get there.
Let's do it.
I think I've only been off Instagram for about a week now, like a couple of days, but I've already clocked how much more productive you are, or we are as people. I think you will have made the same experience, like you said. And I thought that it's just because I have more time to do things, and that is true. But also, after listening to a podcast and reading a few papers on it, I realised that there's also something called attention residue, which is a phenomenon that, let's say you stop multitasking and you think you're on it. You're like, yeah, I'm only focusing on my work. Every 10, 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, I'll just check my phone, check some emails, scroll through Instagram for a minute, and then go back to work. What you're doing, even when you're then going back to work, you're still distracted by what you saw on your phone. You're still processing that information and therefore not 100% present in this particular moment. Working on a document, working on a problem, whatever you're doing, as long as it's work, So you think, yeah, I'm being, I don't multitask, I'm super productive. That kills a significant amount of your productivity because your brain is just not present. It is not there. Secondly, the boredom is something which we very rarely experience now because of these kind of things. As soon as we get bored, we pick up our phones and we look. So imagine you're going through, you're working on a hard problem, you're on a difficult essay, you're writing a really boring piece of work, but it's difficult. You will get bored and suddenly that stimulus from your phone isn't there anymore. And you're waiting for some kind of stimulus because you've trained yourself to think that when you're bored, you get a stimulus, which is usually your phone. Now you're working, you're bored, you're trying to think, but you can't because you're not getting that stimulus, and suddenly you can't cope with boring situations anymore. If you can't focus or deal with a boring situation, which requires, or a situation which requires your productivity, but is boring, and you suddenly can't deal with the boredom, you're not going to be productive and you're not going to complete the task.
Patience goes out the window.
Everything goes out the window. It's we need to teach ourselves to be bored again. Because when you're bored, you know what you want to do. You're like, oh, I wish I could do this. Whereas if you're on your phone and someone says, hey, do you want to do this? Which is the exact thing you would have thought of if you were bored. You're like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. I've got all the stimulus I need from this.
Exactly. Man's natural state is fucking boredom.
Yeah.
It's not, perfectly put.
It's like your natural state is boredom, but you still try to avoid boredom. You try to have some kind of purpose.
Yeah. And
the social media and scrolling through that kind of thing gets rid of the boredom without giving you purpose. You're in like a limbo of not being fulfilled, but not being in the crippling state of boredom.
The astral plane.
You're somewhere in between, and it gets freaky deaky. And not only does it have negative impact particularly on girls' mental health, I think that is something which needs to be looked into a lot. But it will have impact on everyone's mental health, in particular girls, and it kills your productivity. I think those are the two main points which speak against social media. Yeah.
I mean, that's, I guess, today, in its current carnation. Did you say incarnation? Did you say carnation?
Current... Yeah, I know what you mean.
Form.
Current form, yeah.
Current form, we're boring, we'll say form. In its current form, I'd say it's very flawed in a number of ways.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, that's why, at the moment, at present, it's going to have to come from within. It's going to have to come from you to be able to change the way that you perceive it, the way that you use it. Yeah. And it can be so difficult when you've got friends that are all on it and all doing and all yakking, and you can have that serious fear of missing out, particularly in the school environment. I
understand that can be incredibly difficult.
So, that's why, that you can really, experience problems with that. So it's completely understandable. So I think that's why the shift has to come within you.
This isn't like you're bad because you're on social media.
Yeah.
This is more
you're just
of
missing out. You're on social media.
You feel like you're missing out by not being on social media, but then you're actually missing out by being on social media. The issue is because everyone is on social media, everyone is kind of missing out together.
Yeah.
And because everyone is missing out together, you're missing out on the missing out together, and
Ignorance,
it's just
digital. That's it though. Guy was
digital
talking
minimalism.
digital minimalism.
Love it.
What you want is you want that minimal state. So if you look at your phone, you could say, right, okay, Instagram's a big one. Instagram is the easiest one to get rid of. Trust me.
Yeah.
Get rid of it, and I promise you, just delete the account. I promise you, just do it. I know, like, Dan's deleted it off his phone, but he hasn't deleted his account yet. I was like that for a little while, because I was sort of like, well, you know, there's some nice pictures on there, you know, like, I'll come back to it, maybe just check it once in a while. But I did still find myself checking it on my computer, and I didn't like that, so I just thought, fuck it. I'm not, what am I gaining from this? Nothing. So, but, it went. Instagram is the easiest one to get rid of. And, you may think, oh, I'm going to miss out on, like, funny moments and things. But trust me, if your friends are laughing about it at school,
they'll show you.
They'll show you. Or you can go and you can Google, because the way that all of these things are integrated, like, you can just access that video.
Most of it comes from Reddit anyway.
Most of it, yeah, exactly. Honestly, all of this stuff, you might, and you just hold it such high regard. But then you'll just think about how much time.
That's not a free pass to install the Reddit app. Like, oh my god,
no,
that's dangerous.
fuck the Reddit app. Delete that shit as well. I deleted that a while ago.
Same. That was the very first one which went, but I didn't even count that.
I mean, get rid of all this stuff, because then what you'll find is you've got I've got Snapchat and Messenger. Those are my social media apps.
I think, yeah.
I've got another app that is technically like social, but it's more like, oh yeah, read.
Yeah.
Come on, Dan, get read notification. There's a read notifications. Dan, crack up the book. Come on. But what you've got is, sorry, where was I? Oh my god,
we got sidetracked. You were talking about Reddit, getting rid of the apps, and that you have two apps and a third.
Yeah, so I was talking about Letterboxd. Wasn't I? Letterboxd is is like a film app, so you can like track the films that you've watched, and you can rate them, and you can review them, and you can see other people's recommendations and things. And I would sort of say that's good, because that sort of serves a particular thing that you may be passionate about. So that's something that I'm really interested in at the moment. And because it's content that I'm consuming, it's less. That's why I don't sort of see YouTube as bad, because I think YouTube, you're subscribed to people who are generating content, and I think what you've got to be on the lookout for is content that you don't care about. I think once you just see, so that's the danger with subscribing to people. Same with following people. You end up just getting loads of like extra baggage and shit that you don't care about at all.
Yeah.
So what you want to try and do is you want to just streamline it as much as possible, so that the stuff that you want to see, you're seeking out, and that's it. Like, and the people who consistently make good content, those are the people that you follow, but you don't follow anyone else. Because you'll find everything in your trending feed. You'll find everything by searching it up. If you're actually missing out on something, it will be on the news. Like, trust, it will literally, it's not that big a deal.
You're not missing out on anything.
You're not missing out on anything. You might think that you're missing out on anything, but think back. Just take a year, take a step a year back. Ask yourself what was on X's YouTube channel, or ask yourself what was on X's Instagram page. And if you can't remember, unfollow them. Honestly, it's not worth it. Promise you, it's not worth it. It's such a time sap, and it's not worth it. Not worth the time that it sponges it up.
Yeah,
sponges it up, man. It's bad, man. Far out, man.
That's, whoa.
Do you have any more thing to?
Let me think. I think that there's definitely a message of hope here, in that
you're not lost.
We're not lost. There's still a lot of, like, it's literally as simple as uninstalling certain apps, and I think that almost worrying is that social media companies are starting to realize that they are having a negative impact, and that if people start realizing that the negative impact is on them, they'll just leave the platforms. I've heard rumors that Instagram is thinking about just removing the like button, hiding likes.
I think that.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
I think that would be very good.
It would be beneficial. I think it would be a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction, and if there weren't likes, I think that would definitely help with the mental health aspect of it. I never really had an issue with that myself. I'm lucky in that I never really felt anxiety based on, what other people were posting, or got depressed because people were in better shape than me, or I couldn't look in a certain way. For me, my big problem with social media was it was robbing my time.
Yeah.
And to me, time is my most important resource.
Yeah. Time is your only resource,
Yeah,
really.
your only real resource is time. Is money real? That's very abstract. We won't get to that. But
Just used for trade, man.
Yeah.
Just universal trade.
I'll trade you this chicken for Xbox.
That's what
There
I
you
mean.
go.
No, it's just because Paul, when he had his cow, and he was sort of just like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of getting 3 goats every time I trade my goddamn cow. I want some straw.
I want some, yeah,
I want some beans.
Money is essentially just a credit which you can spend on something else.
Exactly it. Just think about it like that. Think about what it is, and
Yeah.
then you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah.
I
And
think
you'll clue up to what it is. And what you're doing now is social media. All it is just other people showing you what they're doing. And do you really? Oh, but yeah. So what you'll find is that like you just don't miss it. Promise you don't miss it.
You don't miss it at all.
And
I think
the
the best approach to take is just the digital minimalist approach, which is if the app is making any money off from your attention, just delete it. Because the odds are, if it's making money from your attention, it's designed to keep your attention, and isn't actually delivering that much value to you, if any.
Let's put it this way: we are bad too at this. Like the only reason we're here talking to you about this really
It's
is
because
we've been bad.
Yeah, we've been a very naughty boy.
We've literally that's what we're coming, and
yeah.
we're only just now because of
It's kind of like rehab.
because of our age. I think really, I think the fact that we've sort of come through it, and I think we all had like a bit of time, I guess, to having like literally just having the year out, like just having the time to look around and be like, okay, like switching on to stuff, thinking about it. That's the reason why we're sort of cluing onto this now.
Yeah.
And that's why we're just sort of putting this information out there, because there are people who, it's been something that in our adult, because we've got a unique experience, because we're like, I think we're like technically Gen Z. So we have Generation Z, that is.
Generation Z.
Born between, oh yeah. Oh, my grammar's awful. Born between like 1998 and 2010. Like, that we're just in that. And like that kind of demographic, we have basically grown up with social media in our adolescence. But there are people now coming through who even before they turn 13, they're already on Snapchat, on Instagram.
Yeah, I can't imagine the
that
effect that would have on you.
And that's why, like, honestly, it's so damaging. I really think it is so damaging, and it fractures your real life relationships, particularly with your family, I think, as well, because you just want to stay up and message people, and all it really does is it moves the focus from the real life to this virtual life. And I guess part of the draw is because you can be whoever you kind of want to be on it, but at the same time there's just so many drawbacks that come with that, and really it's not good. We have come through it, and we're like at the moment now cluing up to the fact that time is a limited resource. It's only because we've got this unique position where we have been. And this isn't just like because sometimes you have these thoughts to yourselves and you take it in, but I think this is genuinely like a change of like personality almost, because of the fact that you do appreciate such a limited like scope that you have. You don't have much, so don't fuck it, don't lose it, and just don't give your money and shit to random corporations that want you to. You're not. There's nothing on Instagram that isn't outside.
That's
promise
so
you.
true, and I think the like we said so
It's
many times.
it's for capturing the real world.
The
isn't
real world stuff is so much more like it's just better. Everything about it is better. So I think closing remarks are,
social media bad.
Social media bad, but try the digital minimalist approach.
Yeah.
I've found that for me, in like the very limited time I've had with it, I've checked my phone less. I'm more present. I'm more productive. I'm clearer as to what I want to do.
Exactly.
I know what I want to do. I know that, I'm just on top of things now. I feel like I'm in control. Second closing remark. Read a book.
Read a book.
Whatever you want. It can be a book on literally anything. Read a book.
The time spent reading a book, honestly, it will allow for that self-meditation process, genuinely. And I think I know I was bad, or have been very bad, and just now picking it back up. I used to read when I was like maybe like under 10. I used to read a fair bit because there wasn't social media really about then. 11, 12, I read quite a lot.
So did I.
I got to about 13.
I suddenly stopped reading.
Suddenly stopped reading. I wonder why. Literally.
What happened when we were 13?
Or at least not for pleasure.
Facebook.
Like only ever because English forced me to, because science forced me to, reading textbooks, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have not read for joy. Certainly, probably like 10 years. I'd say probably, or like, near enough like 10 years.
I think a lot of like
9,
since
10
we got
years.
into secondary school, which is like kind of like high school in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
It's fine not to read that much.
Yeah, I'm not saying read a book every week. I'm saying, but just read a book for fun, because at the moment it's associated so much. I feel like a lot of people who read think it's just for learning, and you will obviously learn things from it, but it's not in an academic sense.
Yeah. And if you keep procrastinating, do the thing which is, so hard, so easy rather, that it's so hard to avoid doing. Like read a page. Just read a page of a book. Just read a page of a book and put it down. And then the next day come to it and read a page again. Just do that. Do that for a month if you want. Do it for a year if you can't do that. But I think what you're going to find is that as soon as you start reading, you'll automatically start reading. Get a good book. Get a book that people recommend. You'll start learning words. And sometimes it can be off-putting. I know it can be off-putting when sometimes if it's been so long coming to a book and then you start seeing these words and you're like,
Jesus Christ,
and you're like, Jesus Christ, because not everyone's set one English genuinely, and it's not it's not something that's just like laughable if people don't really or people haven't been clued up for so much of their life.
Also, if you're a slow reader, I'm a very slow reader, and it takes me a long time to get through a book. That doesn't mean I shouldn't read.
No, yeah, and it's about setting the time aside.
Yeah,
and honestly, if you replace. Go to that Max Joseph's video, but if you replace the hours in a day, if you go on screen time right now and just check the amount of hours you're spending in a day or whatever,
just replace like
and
a
just
third of it.
replace a fifth of it even with reading, and then just try and irk that up until literally the only times you're going on social media is because someone else is messaging you.
I think statistically, if you took, let's say, the average screen time per person is about 3 hours a day. Yeah. If you took a sixth of that and every single day and read for that amount of time, you would read 1,000 books in your lifetime. Would you rather be the person who read 10 or 1,000 books? Ask yourself that. Like when you have like grandkids or whatever, do you want to be the granddad or grandma or grand helicopter who doesn't know much about the world, or doesn't seem that interesting, doesn't have many stories to tell, or the one who can is full of wisdom?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know about you, but I want to be the wise guy.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, the stuff, because it also is a bit of a misconception in that sometimes you think, the answers are in the book. Really, are they? You know what I mean? Like, what's Oliver Twist going to teach me about anything? But often, I think, particularly with philosophical books, because some of the stuff that I've been reading, what it does is that I guess sometimes they're not. When it's fiction, maybe there's a specific purpose for that. Mm-hmm. But I think with philosophical books, or maybe more books leaning towards that nature, what they do is. They don't have all the answers, but they stimulate your own thought, and that's invaluable because that self-meditation, it gives you better headspace. It gives you more headspace because it takes. Imagine all the time that you think about, or rather that you kind of mindlessly even like look at Instagram. That's still taking up headspace. That's taking up that's like being addicted to cocaine or whatever it is. It's literally the same thing. You're damaging but instead of damaging your physical body, maybe even damaging your physical body, you're actually also damaging your psyche as well. Mm-hmm. So you need that fix or whatever. People now can't go on a tram and like look around at the stuff going on or talk to people anymore. People are just sat looking at their phones.
When's the last time you walked past someone in the street who you didn't know and just said hello?
Yeah,
exactly. Like that just doesn't happen.
Who cares if you come across a bit weird? If you're not weird, put it this way: in life, if you're not weird, you're boring.
Yeah, exactly. I'd much rather talk to a weird person than someone who's quote unquote normal, because there's enough normal people out there.
There's way too many normal people out there. Don't be normal.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this extended podcast.
Crikey.
Crikey. It's a long one, that. Thank you very much for listening. I would plug all the social media things, but to be honest, the only thing you need to look out for is the YouTube. The YouTube and the Spotify. Maybe we'll make a Facebook, because I think that is kind of useful, but maybe not.
I mean, honestly, don't worry about it. If you find us,
great. If you find us, you find us. I think if you find us without us having a social media, without us using social media, I think that says a lot about the podcast.
If you'll find us, then you know what I mean. Like I kind of feel like if this content is good enough,
if this content is reaching,
if it's worthy enough of your attention, you'll find it. Don't worry about
that. Then you worry about our social medias.
Bye.
YouTube, Spotify, you know the drill. Have a good life. See you soon, hopefully.
Far out.
See ya.